I'll just start this interview with a comment I found on the YouTube, and it's a quote: "Mark Holcomb is the Clark Kent of the guitar playing world. If you meet him on the street, you think he was kind of a science geek or something. But when he picks up the guitar, he turns into a super axe slinging machine." Would you say that this is an accurate description of yourself?
It's a flattering description. I'll say that. It's very flattering. I would say maybe that's kind of true, because when people meet me in person, you know, they always say that I'm very nice. But my band likes to make fun of me because they say that I say the most offensive stuff in Periphery. I like to say things that sort of shock people in the band. I like to make fun of people in the band, and they're always just like, "Man, people think you're a nice guy, but if they were to only hear the type of stuff you call us behind closed doors, they would be very surprised." But I can't talk about any of that stuff now. I'm sorry.
Okay. This is PG-18.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
You joined Periphery almost a year ago.
Yeah.
So.
Well, actually, over a year ago. Yeah. September of last year.
So yeah, then congratulations to 1 year of Periphery and not going insane.
Yeah. Well, I have gone insane. Now I'm just okay with
really?
it. Yeah.
So now everything is on the same in insanity level.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
So can you tell us how your first show with Periphery went? Were you kind of nervous or
first
something?
show. You know, yeah, actually, that was in Brisbane, Australia, in August of last year.
Okay.
That was my first show with Periphery. It was actually my first time playing live in like 4 years, like at all. And yes, I was a nervous wreck. But you know, that was maybe the only time I've been really nervous anytime I've gotten on stage with a band. You know, just once that first time was out of the way, in that first Australian run, it was only 3 shows in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it's felt pretty natural. Because it's sort of like riding a bike, you know. Like once you do it once, and once you realize that you can pull it off without crashing and burning and making a fool out of yourself, it's not bad. But yeah, that was the only time, and it was a 1 hour set too, and we were playing a ton of hard songs. We were playing like Insomnia and things like that, and I had to learn the whole set,
okay.
and I had to learn a 1 hour set in like 3 weeks or something like that. Which I know to some guys it doesn't sound like a lot. Like our fill-in drummer on this tour, Boris. He learned 7 songs in 3 or 4 days. So to a guy like him, that's not a lot. But I mean, for a guitar player like myself, it was a pretty daunting task to be able to learn that many songs in just a short period of time.
Okay. And how was this learning process? Did you have guitar profiles, or did you just were there like mano a mano with Misha? Or
actually, neither of those. I had all the songs, instrumental versions of them, and I slowed them down in a program that I have called Transcribed.
Okay.
It's called Transcribed, and I just slowed things down. You know, I would slow sections down to 50%. 40, and like lead sections, like tapping parts that are really complex, I would slow down to like 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be very painstaking, very time consuming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did it all
by ear.
By ear,
yeah.
That's
I did it.
Very impressive.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's not really that difficult if you slow things down, you know, and if you just sort of you sit there and just do your homework, isolate yourself, turn off your cell phone, ignore your girlfriend, whatever. Yeah. And which is kind of what I did. I feel bad for it, but and you know. I learned about 90% that way, and the additional 10% I sat down with Misha and Jake, and they showed me the rest. You know? So.
Could you give us a quick rundown on how you got involved with Periphery?
Well, Haunted Shores was a former project of mine, and it was a band originally, and we played with old Periphery. We're talking old Periphery, like 6 years ago or something like that. It was with a different singer, different members. It was Misha and Jake. Like, I believe they were the only remaining members still in the band currently. And we used to play shows locally all the time, Haunted Shores and Periphery. And then when Haunted Shores disbanded, when it was not a group anymore, I would ask Misha, I was like, hey, you want to record some songs with me? We'll call it Haunted Shores, you know, we'll just have fun with it. Mm-hmm. And we ended up recording, I think, 8 or 9 songs together. Just he and I sitting in front of a computer, just trading the guitar back and forth, writing music. Yeah, it turned into a really cool thing. And then when they lost their previous guitar player, Alex, you know, they sort of looked to me and asked if I wanted to fill in, and I did want to fill in just for the Australia dates that I mentioned. And then we did a US tour after that, and then they asked if I wanted to join, you know. It was a pretty easy decision, you know, join one of my favorite bands in the world my best friends, you know.
Okay, so you have been friends with one of the guys, or
I mean I've known
before.
I've known Misha and Jake for a long time, 6 years I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you met in school or
No,
same neighborhood or something?
No, actually, this is a really funny story. We were handing out Haunted Shores CDs in front of a Lamb of God and Gojira concert in front of a venue in Washington D.C. And we were handing out our CDs. We were like, oh man, this is gonna be so cool. People are gonna hear our music and freak out. And we saw Misha and I want to say Jake out there, or is it Jake or the other guitar player Alex, and they were handing out Periphery CDs. And I remember when we popped a Periphery CD in the car, we were just like, holy shit, what is this? This is crazy. We've never heard anything like it, you know, locally, you know, from the local scene.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's how I met those guys.
Was there ever a moment that you think stood out so much to the rest of the guys that they had no chance just to take you into the band as a permanent member?
I mean,
Periphery.
I don't know if there's any one thing. I mean, I know one point now that we sort of all share as a band is, I guess there's two things. One is the ability to learn things by ear, you know, and it's what I did to get into the band, and you know, Jake's always been able to do it, Misha does it, our drummer Matt does it.
And also really fast.
Yes, yeah. Really fast and do it, yeah, exactly, and because that sort of leads to my second point is we all do so much different writing. We write such a different style from each other. I have my own writing style, Misha has his own, Jake has his own. And it takes a keen ear to be able to learn it without having to be shown face to face all the time, you know? And I guess the second point I was leading to was the fact that we all are able to write now in the band. We all contribute, whereas the first album was primarily Misha, you know, writing. You know, we share the load now pretty easily, and I think that's one of the main reasons I was sort of brought on board, was, you know, to sort of enforce that culture, you know, like I do a lot of writing, Jake does a lot of writing, Misha's his usual self, you know, it's like, it's a pretty cool thing to be able to pass the ball back and forth, and you know, Nolly, of course, Nolly's a great guitar player himself, you know, so he does some of the writing too now with the new stuff, so yeah, it's a lot, yeah.
And you also took some Haunted Shores stuff with you to Periphery, like Scarlet.
Yeah. And Passenger. Scarlet was the one that made the album.
Yeah, there was the most obvious one,
yeah.
Because I know the Haunted Shores version,
right.
And all of a sudden there was like Scarlet on Periphery. I was like, well, that fits good.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Right.
Did the guys made the decision? I don't know, right on the point, or did they leave you hanging a bit?
It took a while. Because there's a huge emphasis in this band on personality and culture and the way you vibe personally with the other members. You know, there's 6 of us, so if you don't fit in perfectly chemistry-wise, you know, in terms of personality, you know, it's a potential problem, and I think that was sort of the reason why there were several lineup changes right before I joined the band, was because those things became apparent, and yeah, you know, we just wanted to see if it vibed naturally. I wanted to see if I liked being on tour with them. They wanted to see if they liked being on tour with me, you know, so it did work out positively in both ways.
Okay, and have you ever been on tour with another band than Periphery?
Nope.
Okay, so Periphery was your first tour experience.
Yeah, popped my tour cherry.
And starting with Australia.
That was
Special.
That was weird. Yeah, it was weird. It was cool.
You also came across a guy named Hayato from Cyclamen.
Yeah.
And you guys did a kind of a split EP.
Yeah.
And how did this project came together?
He wrote me years ago when Haunted Shores was an actual band. When you know, we're doing this like 5-6 years ago. He wrote me and said he was a fan. I wrote him. I really liked his music too. I said I was a fan of his, and then he approached me about that, and we made it happen pretty easily. And then actually, we've been writing for a long time, for 5 or 6 years, but I finally actually met him. We hung out in Washington D.C. I've only met him once.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was a really cool guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Really nice dude.
So everything just happened over the
Oh, totally,
internet.
totally. And you'd be surprised how many things in our circle sort of happens that way, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Sometimes I forget that I haven't met certain people, you know? Like I feel like, for instance, our, Periphery's old singer, Casey Sable, I've only met
Okay.
Casey. Like I feel like I know Casey very well, but I've only met him 3 times. We've only really hung out 3
Really?
times. Yeah, but I mean, like, we joke all the time, and I consider him a friend of mine. But it's funny the way the internet brings the world a little bit closer together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark.